You know what? After a win like this, you get so happy. All you want to do is sing and dance. And I think I have the perfect song for this game. Let's try it out. Ready? Zach's LaVine Cuisine. You have what it takes to be the number one on this basketball team. And it shows. Zach's LaVine Cuisine. What's up, Bulls fans? Welcome into another Bulls reaction here on MVP. And, sometimes I just make myself laugh. Like, the thing that I was thinking about, and this was, I said this yesterday in the Watch Along Discord. Join it down below if you're not in it already. These intros, really, it's to make you guys laugh, but also it's to make me laugh as well. And 9 times out of 10, if I can make myself laugh, I am going to use it for the intro. But man, we got a good Bulls reaction here because it is 118-108. Bulls on top, which you know what that means. Da Bulls. We get the Da Bulls because the Bulls get their 3rd win of the season, beating the Luka Doncic list, the KP listness. Dallas Mavericks. They didn't have either Luka or KP. Not a problem for the Bulls at home. Bulls go ahead and get the win. And there is one topic that I really want to focus on in this video, but I want to kind of get some other things out of the way first. So we'll hit the appetizers, then we'll go ahead and hit the meat and potatoes of this in quite a second. My kind of quick thoughts is this was a game where I feel like this game should have been out of hand for the Bulls. Like, this should have been a game without Luka playing, because coming into the game, I thought Luka was ready to go. I was ready to see Luka, Zach LaVine, one-on-one, mano-a-mano. But let's be honest, I was like, oh, Luka's going to play this game. We'll lose because Luka's a good player. After I found out, I should say, that Luka wasn't playing, I was like, oh, shit, this should be a win for the Bulls. This completely changes my momentum or my thought process of this game. And it was kind of a back and forth kind of a game. It was a game of runs, you would say, for this one. Dallas would go on a run. The Bulls would also go on a run. Bulls would take a double-digit lead. You're thinking, all right, this is good. We're building on stuff. And then you go ahead and, the Mavericks would come back. And it ended up being a 10-point game. Bulls went on a run at the end. But it always seemed closer than I think it should have been. Also, the thing that I completely forgot that I should have started this video off with is we found out during the game, or really right before it or right around the start. We got to say T's and P's to Tomas Satoransky, tested positive for the COVID. So, really just that, T's and P's. We hope you recover because, this team is quite different when we don't have you out there at the backup point guard position. So, Hutch, now Tomas, let's hope both of those players obviously recover from COVID-19 and don't have any complications. But yeah, this game seemed like it shouldn't have been as close as it was. And the one matchup that, or the one position, I should say, that I was kind of focusing on during the game was the center position, where I got to look up his height. So we had Maxi Kleber out there, who is he didn't start, but he played some significant minutes. He's a guy who is 6'10". Wow, he fucking seems taller out there. You also had Willie Cauley-Stein, who played 12 minutes as well. He fouled out in the game. He's about 7 foot. So you had Kleber that played almost 30 minutes. You had Willie Cauley-Stein that played 12 before he fouled out, which seemed early in the game. And it seemed like to me that Kleber, especially Kleber, was able to do whatever he wanted against Wendell Carter, where I know a lot of people have harped on this Bulls defense so far this season. Let's be honest, it has not been perfect defensively. There were even times in this game where pregame you had Kendall Gill and Will Perdue kind of talking about how this Bulls defense has to close out. They have to go ahead and close out on the three-point shooters. Can't let them get open shots. Well, there were some times in this game where it was like, yes, there were some times where Kobe got a hand up in the face of the defender, but there were times where the shooter had a wide open shot and there was so much collapsing going on. So it's like, to me, yes, that wasn't perfect, but really the center position, it just seemed like Kleber and Willie Cauley-Stein, especially Kleber, really had their way with Wendell Carter. I feel like when the Gaff Daddy, as I am contractually obligated to call him Gaff Daddy, I can no longer say Daniel Gafford. It is always the Gaff Daddy here at MVP, especially with me. When the Gaff Daddy was out there, like, it seemed like the Bulls defensively, especially down low at the 5, was a little bit better. So, I mean, that might be something we look at going forward, and especially AK, because like I've said, AK is looking over this team. He's kind of deciding, okay, what do I want to keep? Who do I want to trade? Who's good for the future? Who's not? I know Wendell is young. I know this is his second year in the league because he's with the draft class of Zion and everybody. But I mean, I look at it and I go, are we going to look at this and go, hey, we need to go ahead and get a center that can kind of not get pushed around? Because if you're getting dominated or if you're getting outplayed on your defensive end by Maxi Kleber, how do you expect to stand up to the Clint Capellas, the Joel Embiids, the Anthony Davises, the Steven Adams? I'm just trying to think of top centers, even Andre Drummond out there. Like, if you're getting bullied by Kleber, you're going to get bullied by a ton of fucking centers in this league. So that might be something where it's like, okay, Ricky finally sees the red flag that may go on defensively with Wendell Carter. The other thing, I'm trying to think, was there other thing? Oh, yeah, three-point shooting. Dallas only made 11 of them in this game. Also, I have a problem with why is it that, I mean, of course, you're coming back to your hometown where you played high school, didn't play college ball, obviously, but played high school. You want to play well, especially if it's not in front, or it's not even in front of fans, so you can't even say that point. But Jalen Brunson had himself a game. The Bunsen burners, we were calling them in the watch along, or should we say the Brunson burner, as he was in this one. Yeah, he had 31 points, and I just kind of saw that as like, why do these kids always come back to Chicago and go, hey, now this is when I'm going to have a really good game and kind of have a career high game? So that was something that kind of was like, not really. Luka wasn't out there. This game should have been, like I said, out of hand for the Bulls. They should have won it more easily than they did. But let's get into the main meat and potatoes that I want this video to be about. The intro was about him. The title is about him. Zach LaVine. And the thing that I saw from this game from Zach LaVine is exactly what I want to see from Zach LaVine game in, game out. And I know that, he finished with 39 points in this one? Yeah, 39. Now, I know 39 a night might be a little bit too much to ask for. I mean, it's not quite like Steph Curry. 62 a night is kind of unattainable each and every night, but fuck it. Steph Curry might be able to do whatever the fuck he can to do that. But Zach LaVine, this is the game I want to see from Zach. I want to see him being aggressive. Now, of course, it was the other side. The shots were falling for Zach LaVine. He finished, 14 of 25 in the game, 3 of 9. So, like, you could look at it and go, yeah, Ricky only shot 33% from 3. But there were shots falling for Zach. This was not a cold game for Zach LaVine. But the thing that I liked was I love the aggressiveness. The aggressiveness from Zach. And this is what I want. He might not average 40 points a game. But like I said, in the whole debate, and I've had this numerous times in the Discord, we brought it up last night. Jake, Tim, Pat, Soapy, everyone has their opinion of this. Can Zach LaVine be the number one on this Bulls team if we want to win? If he plays like this, if he can show this game in and game out, this aggressiveness, then yes, I believe that Zach LaVine can be the number one for this team, because I know, and the whole reason I've been saying why I think he can be a number one is because I know he has this in him. I know Zach has this aggressiveness, and he can show it game in and game out. And the thing I should have probably prefaced is, if you are somebody that was like, oh, Zach LaVine should be traded this season, I'm just going to refer you to this game over and over. And we're just going to put it in the file of games you should watch if you want Zach to be traded this exact season, because this is what Zach can be. I also thought that there were some talking points, and I wrote them down, that Billy D kind of hit in his post-game kind of conference. And the first thing that he hit was he kind of mentioned, he's like, well, Zach's he's not necessarily a young player. He's 24, 25, I want to say. I want to say he's 24, but he may be 25. Fact check me on that one. Let me know in the comment section if I'm off. But yeah, he might not be a young player, but you got to look at him. He's been in the league 6 years, but he's never had consistency. He's had 6 coaches in 6 years. And in my notes here, I wrote them down because I did the research before recording this. So in Minnesota, he had Flip Saunders, the late Flip Saunders. He had Sam Mitchell, Tom Thibodeau for a season. Then when he got traded over to Chicago, he had Fred Hoiberg for a season. He had Jim Boylan for a year and a half or a year and 3/4 per se. And then now he's got Billy D. So this is his 7th year, I want to say. So 6 coaches in 7 years? Because I think the only coach to have him more than one, I think, is Boylan. Because Fred Hoiberg got fired, Boylan took over. So I think Boylan's the only one to have him more than one season. That is something I think we need to look at with Zach. And yet again, haters might use it to fuel their fire. Supporters of Zach might use it to fuel their fire. But I think it's important in his development. He has never had a coach that's been like, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to develop you. And I know my dog Sharpie, he's all up in arms about it. He's like, dude, what are you barking at Zach for? Zach's a good guy. See, Sharpie knows what he's talking about. But the 2 other things that Billy D said was, number one, he kind of talked about Zach, where his message to him is, when you come down with the ball, don't think this is what I want to do and just go ahead and do it. Don't try to, the way it came off to me is, don't try to force the issue. Don't try to force things. Come up, see what the defense is telling you. There was a beautiful play, absolutely beautiful. And although I kind of rag on this player, Otto Porter, for some decisions he has made off the court about the pandemic, and then also in his rehabbing of an injury, dancing at a club when your foot's too injured to play. I know that was something that I'm not quite happy about last year. But there was a beautiful play where Zach saw the defense kind of come to him. Otto made a fucking cut to the rim. Zach hit him, boom, easy 2. Stuff like that. If Zach is able to do that, react to the defense, I kind of was like, okay. Yeah, let's see more of that from Zach. The other comment I thought was kind of interesting and got me thinking is Billy D said that Zach is not as aggressive as he needs to be. And I kind of thought about that, and I was like, at first I'm like, I don't know, Billy D. I don't know. Zach is pretty fucking aggressive. He's one of our most aggressive players. But then when I thought about it, I was like, okay, by saying he's not as aggressive as he needs to be, is Billy D kind of saying, hey, Zach needs to, at some times, say, fuck it, I'm taking the game over. Yeah, it's cool to run the offense and stuff, get everyone involved, but there may be times where it's like, fuck it, I'm taking this over. This is my time. And I kind of thought about that, and it's like, it goes back to the first debate. If you are going to be a number one on this team, you got to have that in you. You've got to have hey, I'm going to take a game over, no matter what it is. 4th quarter, 1st quarter, 2nd quarter, 3rd quarter, right out of half, right before half. You have to be a player that's like, all right, we need a spark. I'm going to go ahead and give us a spark. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive here. Now, of course, you don't want that to be out of control, but if he can pick and choose his spots and be a little bit more aggressive from time to time, maybe that would sway some of the people who don't think he can be a number one on a basketball team, on a championship team. Maybe that kind of sways some people. And that's kind of the last thing I wanted to ask you guys when it came to this, because I am on the side of, I feel like Zach has it. I feel like he has it to be a number one on this team. And I look at, we were talking yesterday in the Discord with, it kind of started with Otto Porter, where we talked about, should we trade Otto Porter? Should we re-sign him? Because there's some people that are like, hey, let him play out this year. Let's see if we can re-sign him for a little bit cheaper or maybe for like a 2-year deal. And there was a part of me that goes, you know what? Otto's like, I think he's 31, 32. Basically, he's in his early 30s. And to me, I'm thinking, I don't want to re-sign him more than like 2 years. And at that point, it's like also, what are you also going to pay him with that? Because Lauri Markkanen's going to need a payday this year. Zach LaVine, if you're going to keep him, is going to need a payday after next season. I know there's things where it's like, well, you have this player on your team, you can go over the cap to re-sign them, and you can basically sign, like if we wanted to sign a free agent, we could give the free agent money and then re-sign Lowry this season and use the Lowry contract to go over the cap, no problem. I know there's rules like that in place, but it started with the Otto conversation. Then it kind of went into Zach. Well, it's like, okay, if you think that, first off, what do you think the timeline of this team is? Because in my mind, year one of a rebuild. AK's coming in. Nobody but Patty. Like, to me, nobody but Patty Williams is safe in AK's mind. That's what I'm thinking. Because AK came in and everyone on this team except for Patty Will and Garrett Temple and Billy D, fucking coach, of course. Those are the only 3 moves that he has made this offseason. He brought in Garrett Temple as a veteran player. He brought in Billy D to be the head coach. And he drafted Patrick Williams. That's it. Everyone else on this team is a Garpax player and was here before AK came in. So, to me, anything is possible in AK's mind. He could decide that nobody is worth it. And that's going to make a total rebuild, which means our timeline's even longer. But let's say AK decides, all right, Zach is something to build around. Is 3 to 4 years a reasonable timeline for this team? Because if it is, you look at it and Zach is 24. Fuck it, I'm just going to look it up right now. Let's see, Zach LaVine. Where's good old LaVine Cuisine? There he is. So Zach is... okay, he's 25. So he's going to turn 26 this March. So 3 years puts him at 29. So 3 years from right now puts him at 28, 29 that season. 4 years puts him at 29, 30. I don't know. It depends. Like, it depends what you think. And that is something to me where it's like, my gut reaction is, if the timeline is 3 to 4 years, I think this team can win with Zach on it. Now, maybe that does change the opinion of mine, where maybe he's the number 2 and not the number 1, and we draft someone who then develops into the number 1. But I think if Zach is the number 1, we can win a championship with Zach being the number 1. We just got to find then an identity for this team, because right now we're out there playing with Zach LaVine at the 2. We have a point guard out there who's not even a real point guard, who Kobe's doing all he can. I'm not ragging on Kobe. Like, Kobe's trying his best out there. You can tell that he's trying, but he's not a real point guard. He's just not. And I would rather have a real point guard out there. So you've got that. You've got Wendell Carter in the paint, who he's also trying. You'll watch the games. It's like, it's not like he's taking games off. Now, there might be a little bit of kind of discouragement because of the lack of stellar play out there, but that's besides the point. That's a completely different discussion than lack of effort. But you got to look at the point guard position. You got to look at the center position. Lauri Markkanen, what is his kind of timeline with this? Because, he's kind of like, let's say he came in. Fuck, I'm just going to look up how old he is instead of trying to mathematically look at it in my mind. Let's see. Lauri Markkanen. Let's see. Markkanen is 23 years old, so he's 2 years younger than Zach. So that puts him like, maybe he fits more into the 3 to 4 year timeline than Zach, but I don't think Zach completely doesn't fit that timeline. Otto Porter may. Like, that's what I was saying. 3 to 4 years, he's about, 34, 35, and by that point, like, what is he really giving to you? Like, if you think he can be a good veteran while this team is in rebuild mode, then yeah, sign him for 2 years. Other than that, try to trade his ass this year and get a first-round pick out of him, because I still think there's a playoff team out there that will give up a late first-round pick this year to try to add on a port of that team. I say you do that 10 out of 10 times, add some draft capital to your team. That's just what I'm thinking. But yeah, it just, to me, what determines it is, what do you think the timeline for this team is? I think 3 to 4 years is a realistic kind of outline for when this team could be really good again. And I think that's also kind of the, what's your expectation for this year? Like, I know a lot of people out there, Bulls fans, I feel it too, where you want to see this team win. You want to see, you're a fan of this team like I am. You want to see them win. But yet again, losses aren't the worst thing in the world in this situation. Losses are not the worst thing in this season. I know it kind of sounds, like they contradict each other, but you got to think, if this team can look good, look competitive, and lose games, that's not the worst thing in the world. Like, let's say we would have lost yesterday. I wouldn't have been mad. I'd rather see a close loss than a game against Milwaukee. It's the games that we had against Milwaukee that will make me angry and want to pull my hair out. But if we had a game like we played yesterday, but happened to lose, yes, would I have been a little upset because, Luka didn't play and I felt like we should have won the game? Yeah, I would have totally felt like that. But in the end, I would have been like, all right, it's not the worst thing in the world. A loss means a higher draft pick, means it puts us in a better situation to get a top 3 pick. And that's all we got to think about this season. Look good out there. Let's look at the play. Look at how our players developed this year. Well, let's not focus on the record. I'm going to be saying this a lot, by the way. This is going to be my broken record speech. Don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about the outcome. That's basically what it is. But that's it for this video. Let me know, obviously. My question of the day for you guys is obviously the whole Zach LaVine thing. Do you think he can be a number 1 on this team, number 2? Hell, in the Discord, there was even the opinion throughout that he might not even be the number 3 on or he might not be the number 2 on a championship team, that he is the number 3 option on a championship team. What are your thoughts with Zach LaVine? Also, if you have any questions for me, anything you want me to hit in a Bulls reaction video, leave them down below in that comment section. I love answering your questions, Bulls fans, Bulls Nation. We're in this together. So you guys have questions, shoot them at me. I'm obviously going to ask you any questions I have, because I know I have my thoughts, but you guys have your own as well. Remember, if you're not in the MVP Discord, you are missing out. We're always watching games, basically in the watch along. To get in on that, $1 a month. Support us for $1 a month on Patreon. You get to join the watch-alongs, which are basically the voice channel, so we can talk to each other while watching games. Other than that, the Discord is free. You can jump in right now, get into the NBA channel, and talk about fucking the NBA right now. We've got a little good collection of Bulls fans in there as well, so go ahead and join that today. That is going to do it for me in this video. Remember, join the Discord, support us on Patreon if you want to. I will be back on Tuesday night as we play the Portland Trail Blazers. We begin a road trip in a next 5 games that might not be good, but hey, every win is just a little bit extra on that. But hey, like I said, we're not going to concern ourselves with the outcome of games. I just want to see how this team plays. But thank you for doing everything you guys do, watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, and as always, have a good day, everybody.